The president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, met Simon Ekpa in Finland and urged him to call off the Monday sit-at-home civil disobedience in southeastern Nigeria before May 30th, 2025. This is tied to a major international event being planned by the United States of Biafra, USB government, scheduled for May 30th in Washington, D.C., where multiple global leaders, including Ibrahim Traoré, are expected to attend. Simon Ekpa, who is being held in Kylmäkoski Correctional Center in Finland, was given conditional bail by a Finnish court, one major condition being that he must publicly cancel the Monday sit-at-home protest using Finnish media. Ibrahim Traoré reportedly convinced Simon Ekpa of 6 benefits to cancelling the protest: securing his bail, attending the United States of Biafra event, boosting southeastern Nigeria's economy, expanding the Biafra movement's visibility, ending civil unrest, and attracting international support. At first, Simon Ekpa refused, claiming he lacked the authority to end the protest because it was a grassroots movement beyond his control, but later showed signs of reconsidering. Simon Ekpa insisted he would only make the announcement via his Twitter page, not Finnish media, as demanded by the court, and wants a legal document signed ensuring any post stays up for 30 days. Finnish authorities reportedly rejected this condition due to concerns he might misuse the platform or post misleading content. Simon Ekpa is leveraging his worsening health condition, including heart problems, as part of his negotiation strategy, possibly to pressure the Finnish government for leniency. He also demanded that his frozen bank accounts, assets and properties, frozen since March 6, 2025, be released if he calls off the protest. Finland authorities remain skeptical of meeting his terms, but his deteriorating health and international political interest in his case could shift the balance in his favor. In recent weeks, an extraordinary political drama has been unfolding across 2 continents, stretching from the heart of Europe to the southeastern region of Nigeria and extending to the capital of the United States. At the center of this international story are 2 controversial but influential figures: Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, and Simon Ekpa, the self-declared Prime Minister of the government of the United States of Biafra. Their unusual meeting in Finland and the powerful requests and decisions that emerged from it have stirred global interest, raised eyebrows in diplomatic circles, and sparked intense debate among followers and critics alike. Simon Ekpa is a name that has become synonymous with Biafran nationalism. He rose to prominence through his online broadcasts, outspoken activism, and staunch advocacy for the separation of southeastern Nigeria from the rest of the country to establish an independent Biafra. Over the past few years, Simon Ekpa has been a polarizing figure, commanding a large following, but also attracting criticism from many Nigerians, especially for his role in enforcing the Monday sit-at-home protests in the southeast, which have crippled local economies and ignited frequent clashes with security forces. The Monday sit-at-home protest was introduced as a civil disobedience measure to pressure the Nigerian government to release Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Over time, however, this protest transformed into a recurring shutdown of southeastern Nigeria every Monday, affecting markets, schools, transportation systems, and healthcare access. Critics of Simon Ekpa argue that the protests have caused more harm than good to the people they are supposedly intended to help. Yet, Simon Ekpa and his supporters have insisted that the sit-at-home is a necessary act of resistance and a symbolic assertion of Biafran self-determination. Things took a dramatic turn when Seaman Ekpa was arrested in Finland and placed under detention at the Kilomakoski Correctional Center. Finnish authorities have been monitoring his activities for years, especially as his declarations and online broadcasts began attracting international scrutiny. With growing pressure from the Nigerian government, the Finnish authorities acted in early 2025 by freezing Seaman Ekpa's bank accounts, seizing his properties, and placing him in custody while legal investigations into his activities were ongoing. Then entered Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young and bold military leader of Burkina Faso, who has also emerged as an unconventional figure in African politics. Unlike many of his peers, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has aligned himself openly with Pan-Africanist ideals and is not shy about challenging traditional Western alliances. His arrival in this story came as a surprise to many, particularly when it was revealed that he flew to Finland to personally meet with Seaman Ekpa. What motivated Captain Ibrahim Traoré to get involved in such a sensitive Nigerian issue? The answer lies in a growing movement led by the United States of Biafra government in exile, which is planning a high-profile international event in Washington, D.C. on May 30th, 2025. This date marks Biafra Remembrance Day, commemorating the original Declaration of Independence by Biafran leaders in 1967. But this year, the event is being touted as something bigger, potentially a symbolic global relaunch of the Biafran movement. Several African and international leaders, including Captain Ibrahim Traoré himself, are expected to attend. However, for the event in Washington, D.C. to have the intended political weight and legitimacy, it is crucial for Seaman Ekpa to be physically present. That presented a dilemma, since Seaman Ekpa remains in detention in Finland, facing charges that restrict his travel and public declarations. The Finnish authorities, aware of the political implications, offered Seaman Ekpa conditional bail, but among the key conditions was a requirement that he publicly cancel the Monday sit-at-home protests, and not just in any way. The Finnish court ordered that the announcement must be made through Finnish media, not merely through Seaman Ekpa's Twitter account or any Biafran channels. Initially, Seaman Ekpa rejected the demand. His reasoning was that the Monday sit-at-home protest was not directly under his control. He insisted it had evolved into a grassroots civil disobedience campaign beyond the capacity of any single leader to cancel. He expressed that he could not simply call it off by decree because the people who had embraced the protest were acting out of collective conviction, not blind loyalty. He argued that he did not have unilateral authority to undo what had become a symbol of the people's resistance. Yet, behind closed doors, the conversation deepened. Captain Ibrahim Traoré met Seaman Ekpa privately, alongside his legal representatives, and made a case for why the protest should be suspended, at least temporarily. Captain Ibrahim Traoré presented 6 key reasons. First, cancelling the protest would secure Seaman Ekpa's immediate release from detention. Second, it would enable Seaman Ekpa to attend the May 30th, 2025 event in Washington, D.C., and participate in a historic gathering of Biafran and Pan-African leaders. Third, the southeastern region of Nigeria would benefit economically from the resumption of normal Monday activities, especially after years of stagnation caused by the recurring shutdowns. Fourth, the Biafran movement itself would gain international attention and credibility, especially if the declaration to suspend the protests came through the official channels of a European nation like Finland. Fifth, ending the Monday sit-at-home would help reduce civil unrest and ongoing violence in the region, potentially saving lives. Sixth, This move could draw greater international support and sympathy for the Biafran cause from nations observing how the movement is evolving beyond violence into diplomacy and strategy. Simon Ekpa was unmoved at first, but then his stance began to shift. The pressure from international allies, the possibility of attending the high-profile event in the United States, and the opportunity to reshape the Biafran movement from a global stage may have prompted him to reconsider. However, as Simon Ekpa began to lean toward accepting the bail terms, he set his own conditions. Rather than use Finnish television or radio to make the cancellation announcement, Simon Ekpa proposed to issue the declaration through his official Twitter page. He insisted that he be allowed to do so under his own terms. He went a step further, requesting that the Finnish authorities sign a legal document ensuring that whatever message he posted on Twitter would remain visible for a minimum of 30 days. Simon Ekpa claimed this condition was necessary to ensure the credibility and durability of the message, and perhaps to shield himself from any sudden backlash or deletion by authorities. This proposal was met with skepticism. Finnish officials reportedly declined the condition, citing concerns that Simon Ekpa might use the platform to manipulate public perception or to post messages that contradicted the legal understanding. From their perspective, it was a risk they were not willing to take, especially given the international sensitivity of the issue. They preferred a controlled media environment, such as a Finnish press channel, where the message could be monitored, verified, and archived according to Finnish legal standards. Another major twist in the story involves Simon Ekpa's health. Reports have emerged that Simon Ekpa has been experiencing worsening heart conditions, which required medical attention outside the correctional facility. This revelation has added urgency to the situation. The Finnish government is under pressure, not just from political allies of the Biafran movement, but also from humanitarian observers who are warning that any further deterioration in Simon Ekpa's health while in custody could spark international outrage. The government of Finland is therefore walking a delicate line, balancing legal protocol, national security interests, and diplomatic pressure from both African allies and human rights advocates. Simon Ekpa seems aware of this fragile balance. He appears to be using his health status as a bargaining chip. His legal team has leveraged his condition to argue for leniency, faster decision-making, and broader concessions. One of Simon Ekpa's most surprising demands was that, in addition to being allowed to post the protest cancellation on his Twitter account, the Finnish government should also unfreeze his bank accounts, properties, and assets, which have been under lock since March 6, 2025. This request complicates matters even further. While it is understandable that Simon Ekpa would want access to his personal and organizational resources, especially in the context of organizing or attending an international event, the Finnish authorities remain wary. They fear that releasing these assets prematurely might enable Simon Ekpa to escalate political operations that could be destabilizing in both Africa and Europe. Some also worry that Simon Ekpa's movements, if unchecked, could reignite tensions in southeastern Nigeria, especially if the sit-at-home cancellation is mishandled or seen as a betrayal by his base. Adding to the complexity is the possibility that Simon Ekpa may attempt to outmaneuver the Finnish government. There are speculations, both among journalists and legal observers, that Simon Ekpa's insistence on using Twitter might be part of a larger strategy to regain access to digital tools and communication channels that have been restricted since his arrest. If Simon Ekpa is allowed to post directly, even under legal oversight, he might use the opportunity to galvanize support, issue contradictory statements, or rally his followers in ways that circumvent the spirit of the court's conditions. At the same time, Others see Simon Ekpa's tactics as intelligent and politically astute. They argue that he is negotiating from a position of strength despite being physically confined. His influence has not waned. If anything, his detention has amplified his status among supporters, portraying him as a martyr-like figure under foreign persecution. The fact that Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a sitting African president, personally traveled to meet him only enhances this image. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's motivations are also being scrutinized. Some see him as a sincere ally of the Biafran cause and a new kind of African leader willing to challenge the status quo. Others see him as a calculated strategist, using the Biafran movement as part of a broader geopolitical realignment that pits emerging African blocs against older Western-dominated alliances. Either way, his involvement has changed the tone and tempo of the Biafran campaign. His message to Simon Ekpa was clear: call off the Monday sit-at-home before May 30th, 2025, or risk losing a rare and powerful opportunity to globalize the Biafran message from the stage of Washington, D.C. As May 30th approaches, all eyes are now on Finland. Will Simon Ekpa compromise and make the declaration through the channels demanded by the court? Will the Finnish government bend its rules, fearing the consequences of a health crisis or political backlash? Will the United States of Biafra proceed with its event in Washington, D.C., with or without its Prime Minister present? And perhaps most importantly, will the people of southeastern Nigeria accept any announcement that calls off the Monday sit-at-home? The coming days will answer these questions. For now, the world watches a drama that mixes law, politics, health, diplomacy, and nationalism. A drama where every word, every tweet, and every courtroom condition could shape the next chapter in the long, complex history of Biafra and its ongoing quest for recognition. As the world begins to focus its attention on the approaching date of May 30th, 2025, the pressure surrounding the controversial figure Simon Ekpa, currently held at Kilomakoski Correctional Center in Finland, continues to mount. The decision by the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, to intervene so directly in the affairs of the southeastern region of Nigeria by appealing to Simon Ekpa to call off the Monday sit-at-home protests is a powerful sign of how deeply internationalized the Biafran question has become. It is no longer an issue restricted to Nigeria's domestic scene. It has now grown wings that carry it to the diplomatic tables of countries thousands of miles away, from Ouagadougou to Helsinki, and from there to Washington, D.C. Simon Ekpa has become a polarizing figure not only in Nigerian discourse but in international circles. Many governments view him as a man pushing civil unrest, while others, particularly in the Pan-African revolutionary circles, see him as a freedom fighter caught in a web of colonial legacies and geopolitical suppression. His continued detention, the freezing of his assets, and the strict bail conditions imposed by Finnish authorities are seen by his supporters as proof of a targeted crackdown coordinated with the Nigerian state. His critics, however, view him as a demagogue whose influence over the population in southeastern Nigeria has led to widespread economic paralysis, fear, and a slow bleeding of the social fabric. When Ibrahim Traoré took the bold step of flying to Finland and sitting face-to-face with Simon Ekpa, it was not a mere diplomatic courtesy. It was a calculated act of political symbolism and strategic foresight. Ibrahim Traoré has increasingly positioned himself as a defender of Pan-African unity, sovereignty, and resistance against foreign influence. Icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.